Hello, my name is Sam Lawson, and the topic that I would like to present on is honesty. Honesty can come in many different ways. In this presentation, I'll talk how it's more than just telling the truth when asked what honesty is. It's also about love, and it's about respect. So honesty, again, is not just telling the truth when asked what the truth is. It's also about love, and it's also about respect. If we're looking in the dictionary, Merriam-Webster defines honesty in two different ways. The first is the commonly held belief of adherence to the facts and sincerity. Now, furthermore, they also define it in a little bit more of a complex way. They also define honesty as fairness and straightforwardness of conduct. And so this second one is more of a guideline as to how to live one's life and interact with others, whereas the first definition is more of, here's what you should do in X situation. My personal definition of honesty is also twofold, like the dictionary. The first is living one's life without apologizing. A very innocent example of this is if one grew up in a household that really rooted for the New York Yankees. However, growing up, that child might be a Boston Red Sox fan at heart. So it's hard to be honest with the family about the Yankees and the Red Sox if you're not honest with yourself first. So if you always found yourself rooting for the Red Sox, even though your whole family's rooting for the Yankees, you gotta be honest with yourself before you can start to be honest with other people around you by telling them, hey, I'm actually a Red Sox fan. I'm not actually a Yankees fan. So I know that's a very innocent example. However, it does bring to light the fact that one should be honest with themselves first before they can start to be honest with others. The second definition that I have is something that can be applied to many different situations in which there's a close relationship between people or amongst a group of people. It's telling a loved one what they need to hear, not what they want to hear. This is a really, really difficult situation to be in, telling someone that you love something they don't want to hear. But at the end of the day, if you really value honesty and you really value that relationship with a loved one or a group of people like a team, then you need to tell them what they need to hear so you're not leading them down an incorrect path. Looking to Scripture, we do have multiple tales of honesty in the Bible, but a very quick story that I think even people that have been in Sunday school recently know is the story of Zacchaeus. So Zacchaeus was a rich tax collector in the city of Jericho. And while that job of being a tax collector made him wealthy, he was also getting even more money by keeping some of that tax money for himself, and he cheated people out of money as well. So when Jesus came to Jericho, he saw Zacchaeus, who had climbed up a sycamore tree because Zacchaeus was a shorter in stature man. And Jesus demanded that Zacchaeus come down from the sycamore tree. Jesus then visited Zacchaeus in his house, and while that conversation may be lost to history, we found it must have been very profound, because after that conversation, Zacchaeus pledged to give half of his goods to the poor, and also decided to return any stolen or cheated monies or goods back to the people he stole from fourfold. So while Zacchaeus did make mistakes, and he made a lot of them, some significant mistakes, he abandoned his dishonest ways to follow Christ in being honest. Now, honesty is not something that we should just want Christians to be. It's also a virtue that is held in other religions. We would be in a much, much better world if everybody was honest with each other. So other faiths can also be great teachers of certain virtues. Honesty is one of them. We can see from this first quote from the LDS Church, honesty is more than not lying. It is truth-telling, truth-speaking, truth-living, and truth-loving. In the Jewish faith, Rabbi Shlomo Jarkeg says that honesty is the divine policy. So it's held in very, very high regard in that faith. And then in the Islamic faith, Muhammad said that he who cheats is not one of us. Deceitfulness and fraud are things that lead one to hell. So this is, honesty as a virtue is not just a Christian virtue. It is something that can be held around the world. Looking to the text from this particular course, there's a really, really great quote about honesty, in that honesty is the condition or capacity of being truthful or trustworthy in dealing with others. This is a very, very powerful quote, because it's not just about telling the truth, it's about how one deals with other people and having a great relationship and not burning any bridges. How this applies to the coaching realm. It's presenting a good example to young people. If a coach is up and talking with a ref and lies and has all these young people behind him, seeing that lying is okay, that is setting the standard for these young people, that it's okay to lie if we can benefit from it. That is not the standard that coaches should want to set to young people. It's also being transparent and authentic in those relationships with the players. As a coach, you need to tell a kid who's not getting playing time that he needs to improve X, Y, and Z aspects of his game. The kid might not want to hear it, but if that kid wants to play, the coach can tell him, here's the list of things that you need to do to improve. That might be a very tough conversation to have, but it is one that is needed. And then finally, it's being respected by others outside of the team. If the other team that you're going to be playing, if the media, if the officials know that you are an honest person, your word is going to have so much more power with them, and they're going to like dealing with you way more than someone who's a yeller, a screamer, and who's going to be trying to lie and deceit their way to a victory. In my personal role as a collegiate coach, I do a lot of recruiting. And honesty is one of the biggest things in the recruiting process. We have to be able to tell young people and their parents the truth. College is a huge decision, as I have here on the screen. What I cannot do in my current role is tell a kid that our school is away from a big city and there's a ton of people here, because that is exactly the opposite. I work at a smaller institution and we're right near the city of Philadelphia. So if they don't like traffic, they should come here. So what we don't want to do is have a kid get lied to, choose to come to our school, and then when he gets here, he's like, this is not at all what I signed up for, and then that gives us a bad reputation. We want to be brutally honest with kids throughout the recruiting process. And outside of our own program, I found a great story about Florida State's football team. So a current high school junior, who's a 2023 graduate, was talking with some members of the media after his visit to Florida State. And this was a huge impression that he had, was the honesty of the coaching staff. So this quote, I think, is really, really big and insightful for other college coaches. He said, honesty. I'll go wherever I feel like I have the best relationship, and who can just tell me how it is. It's good to have the honest truth. When you have someone you can trust, stay with them. Honesty is at a premium in collegiate athletics and in the recruiting process. So this is a very, very good insight into what kids are looking for from a recruiter. So I've got two quotes here. The first one comes from Earl Weaver, who's the longtime manager, 17 years in the MLB of the Baltimore Orioles. He said, leadership can be defined in one word: honesty. You must be honest with the players, and you must be honest with yourself. So that's talking about the importance of honesty. And here's the importance of not being a liar. And this quote is just kind of one that's been known, and I don't know who it belongs to, but I do want to share it with everyone. If you succeed in cheating someone, do not think that person is a fool. Realize that person gave you more trust than you deserved. A very, very powerful quote as to why honesty should always be at a premium. To wrap up, honesty is about respect for oneself and for others, and at the end of the day, honesty is about love. And I go back to the quote that I shared earlier. If you love someone, you tell them what they need to hear, not what they want to hear. Here are my references. Thank you very much for your time.